what's going on? I believe that it is Friday today. How's everybody doing? Let me turn off my Bluetooth. Give me 1 second, take 2 seconds. So listen, I was just having a conversation with a friend and we were talking about the social contract, and you guys may have heard of the social contract before. What is the social contract and why do I have to be a part of it? Why do I have to go 35 in a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit? How come I have to abide by these certain laws and rules that are created by any society in the world? Well, let me explain it to you, because as you know, we have a board game coming out called Constitution Headquarters. You can go to it by going to constitutionhq.com or go to DeleteLawz.com, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, how we're rolling Team DLZ and Constitution HQ into Delete Lawz. But I want to stay really hyper-focused right now on what the social contract is, what the social contract means, because you'll read in a lot of comments, a lot of people will say things like, hey, what social contract? I never signed up to be in any social contract. Well, let me explain how it works, okay? Our social contract here in the United States of America is called the U.S. Constitution. Maybe you heard of that before. And so the U.S. Constitution, what that is the rule of law, ROL, that exists in these United States of America. From Alaska to Hawaii to Guam to the Virgin Islands to Puerto Rico, we live under what's called a social contract. Our social contract is the Constitution of these United States. The Constitution of the United States is the social contract. So then you say, well, what if I leave the jurisdiction and I go to Canada or I go to Mexico? You are now in the jurisdiction of Canada, and their laws, their social contract will be applied to you. And then you say, well, it's different than the social contract in America. Absolutely correct. It is different. You have to live and abide by the laws of Canada if you go to Canada. They have different laws than us. For example, Canada has no free speech. You go to England, the country that we defected from, they have no free speech. So if you go to England and you decide to say, hey, I'll say whatever I want, and I want to say that I feel like the immigrants are all terrorists, right? And you could go to England and you could say that, but then the laws of England, they don't have free speech, and they're going to say that you are harassing or inciting, and they can arrest you and put you in the dungeon. Same thing. So now there's some tribes here that I looked up for this particular lecture right here that I wanted to share with you guys. So these are the tribes that are uninhabited. You see those tribes right there? Those tribes right there are uninhabited. They've never been touched by pen and paper civilization, by a domesticated civilization. They live off the land, they use spears, okay? So take a look at that right there. So the first one here, the Sentinelese. The Sentinelese in north, wherever it was, in the North Sentinel Islands right there, the Sentinelese tribe. Do they have a social contract? They don't write anything down. They don't have pencil and paper. Do they have a social contract? Yes, they do. Now, I don't know what exactly the social contract is, but let me give you a pretty simple example so you can understand what that means. The Sentinelese tribe right there in the Northern Islands, what their social contract is that you can never touch the king. You can only touch the king till up you're 3 or 4 years old, and by then your parents have taught you that when you're in the presence of the king, you can't touch the king, because if you touch the king, you get executed. Okay, the Sentinelese tribe lives under a non-written, non-verbal, non-discussed social contract. It carries down from generation to generation, and the social contract there in the Sentinelese Islands right there, where there's an uncivilized tribe, they still have a social contract. Now, what happens when there's no social contract, no rule of law? Then you get countries like Haiti. What's going on in Haiti? Cannibalism. That's WROL, without rule of law. There's rule of law, ROL, and then there's WROL. So if you decide that you're going to go to Haiti, then you have to understand and understand the fact that you're going to a place where there is no social contract. There's no rule of law. So I was talking to a friend about this, and he said, so then you're telling me that the social contract that I'm born into, or whatever jurisdiction I go into, that I have no choice that I'm entering into it, and that might is right. That might will determine the righteousness of that social contract? And I said to him, yes, that's exactly true. If you are born in these United States, or you come here from Iran or Ireland or Portugal or Israel or Palestine, wherever you come here from, you now are under the jurisdiction and the social contract of these United States. What we do in each individual state is we empower people, we bestow powers upon them, and we call them peace officers. Those peace officers, if you do not follow the laws that were created under the social contract, which is our Constitution and each individual state constitution, then the state legislature of Alabama creates a bunch of code, statutes, and ordinances. That is the rule of law. That is the social contract that you live under in Alabama. And so people, you'll see them, sovereign citizens, and they'll say, well, listen, I don't think I have to have a driver's license because I'm just traveling. I don't have to have a license. I'm only traveling. You can say that, but the cold hard facts are that you are under the social contract of the state of Alabama, and they have in their social contract, their rule of law says that you have to have a driver's license. How do I know that's true? Because I've covered 100 videos. Let's say I've only covered 10, but whatever. I've covered enough videos to show you that in lots of states in America, if you don't have a driver's license and that's part of the social contract, they arrest you and put you in a dungeon. So what does that mean to you and me? What is the specificity of that? So let's give you another example of the social contract. Let's say, for example, that in these United States, we live under a social contract. I'm in the state of California right now, and in the state of California, there's a social contract here that I have to live under certain rules and laws. Let's say, for example, that aliens come over the United States of America, like in Independence Day, and they say, we are taking over these United States of America. And what do? They kill our president, they kill the governors of every state, and they say, we determine the law here. And every day, people in what was formerly called the United States, because now we call it alien land, you guys will walk 18 miles a day, you'll do 75 push-ups, and you will worship at the feet of dogs, and you will worship dogs, and that's what you will do. So then we go, no, I'm not going to do that. What are your options? The aliens send down little alien babies, and the little alien babies can grab you and cut your throat. And so if you do not live by the social contract that the aliens have created, and they didn't even write it, they just told us, here's the rules. You'll walk 18 miles a day, you'll do 75 push-ups, and you will worship at the feet of dogs. And if you don't do those things, the aliens can kill you. Might is right. Now, you may not agree with that, but that's the way it is in every single country in the world. There's not a single country in the world besides like Haiti and then the Barbary Coast. There's a couple countries that don't have a social contract, but 99% of countries in the world live by a social contract. You are born into it. You do not get a choice in it. Let's give a real micro example for where you may live. Then you're going to say to yourself, listen, I don't want to live under any social contract. I didn't sign up for this. Okay. So now where you live in Tennessee, there's a speed limit right there in front of your house, right? Put a 1 in the chat if there's a speed limit in front of your house. Put a 1 in the chat if there's a speed limit on the road that you drive to get to your house. Put a 1 in the chat if there's a speed limit on the highway that I'm on right now. There's a speed limit, right? Okay, so now what does that mean? That means that the state of California has bestowed powers upon people they call officers, supposed to be peace officers, they call themselves law enforcers. And what they say is, if you don't drive this speed limit in this state, we'll chase you down with another car with guns and sticks and tasers, and we'll give you a ticket for you to pay a fine for you to learn that you have to go 65 miles an hour on this freeway. Now, what if you say, F that, I'm not getting a driver's license, I'm not getting insurance, and I'm not driving your speed limit. I never signed up for any social contract. My friend, they will take you to a dungeon in chains. Just like if the aliens take over and we're living in alien land, if you don't walk 18 miles a day, do 75 push-ups, and worship at the feet of dogs, then the aliens will put you in chains, could kill you, maybe they probe you, you know what I mean? They take you up in the ship and they probe you, you know what I'm talking about. But I want you guys to understand this, because I keep on seeing on people's videos, I keep on seeing people who saying, I didn't sign up for any social contract. Well, my friend, if you go to France, you're entering into the French social contract. You don't get a choice in it. There's no free speech in France. So if you go in front of the prime minister or the president of the French palace, and you go out there and you say, hey, the prime minister of France is a piece of shit, and I think that he worships at the feet of dogs, and he's a terrible person. And not only that, he's a racist, and he's a murderer because he kills people with bombs. Now, in France, I'm not sure, but I don't know if those are the rules that will get you arrested, but there's no free speech. There's no free speech. So you could get arrested. I know for a fact, if you go to Canada, right up the hill, which, by the way, the idea that we were going to take over Canada, you're a fucking retard, okay? We're not taking over Canada. We're not taking over Greenland. And if we do, the rest of the world's going to turn against us in big numbers. We will lose all of our allies. And the American people should openly be revolting to the idea that we're going to take over Canada. It's just stupidity. But if you go to Canada, they have a social contract that you must live by, that you must live under. And if you do not, they will take you away in chains to a dungeon. Do you understand that? Does everybody understand that? I keep on seeing people's videos that's saying that if you say you're a citizen of these United States, that you're a slave. That's not what citizen means. This is not what citizen means. I read it in comments all the time. If you say you're a citizen, you're a slave. That's not what it means. That's just not what it means. Let me explain to you. The term citizen, just so you know, I mean, just for a little history lesson here, as you know, we're about to do a huge history lesson, and the game will be done before April 1st. As I have been saying, we're almost there now. But anyway, here's the point. As I create this game, Constitution headquarters, you should pre-order it now. Go to Constitution HQ or go to DeleteLawz.com. Pre-order that game. Now, as we go down the line here, I want you guys to understand something. The term citizen comes right after slaves are freed with the 13th Amendment in 1865. The 13th Amendment says that no person shall have to do slavery or servitude. They don't even call it, I think they use the word slavery in the 13th Amendment, but I can't remember. Involuntary servitude, I think they call it. In 1866, they passed a Civil Rights Act, which would be the template for the 1868 14th Amendment. And that 1866 Civil Rights Act said that if you're a citizen of these United States, that you get the same rights and privileges as anybody else. That was the precursor for the making of the 14th Amendment, which defined a citizen as being born on these lands. Now, the dumpster fire can try to overturn the 14th Amendment by executive order, but it's not going to work. Even if it goes to the Supreme Court, they're going to say, nah, this is a constitutional amendment, and I can't just strip it away because I want to. I would love to say that because of all the anchor babies and all the people coming here to have kids so they can be American citizens, we can just strip that away. But no, not even the Donald Trump appointed Supreme Court is going to strip away the 14th Amendment through judicial order. That's not going to happen. As well as the First Amendment. As you know, that dumpster fire just arrested and put in jail Muhammad Khalil. And you may not agree with Muhammad Khalil. I don't agree with Muhammad Khalil. I'm of Jewish descent. My forefathers are Jewish. All my friends are Jewish. I don't agree that Israel is the great Satan. I don't agree that Israeli people are evil. I don't agree that Jewish people are evil. I don't think so. But I will die for Muhammad Khalil's right to say it. And Donald Dumpster Fire Trump cannot simply put him in a dungeon because he used his First Amendment right to assemble and protest. And so the social contract that we live under, this all ties together. The social contract that we live under is that you have a First Amendment right to speech, to press, to assembly, to religion, and to petition. Those 5 first big freedoms. Now, of course, when you assemble, you can protest. So that's what I'm talking about here. The social contract protects you. The social contract is a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. Now, you're going to say, once again, and I'm just going to address this again because I want to be clear on this. I've been driving down the road here for several hours, and I want to make it clear to people. People are going to say, I didn't sign up for any social contract, Chille. You were born here, It means you're an American citizen because you're born here, 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, Amendment 14, Section 1, birthright citizenship. If you're born here, you're American. That's what it says in our Constitution, our rule of law. What is the rule of law? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Constitution can be amended. What is an amendment? The 14th Amendment says that the Constitution has been amended to state in 1868 that if you're born here, you're an American citizen here. Now that is the rule of law. That is the social contract. Are we clear? I want to be perfectly and abundantly clear. The social contract is the rule of law. You are not a slave if you are a citizen. That means that these United States has jurisdiction over your ass, whether I like it or not. And if you don't think so, go drive 90 miles an hour down your road where you live, and you will find out very quickly that the officers who have been empowered with state power will show up where you are. They will put you in chains and drag you away. Now, is that right? I think in some cases, Charlie, go over there. Charlie, go over there. You're making me hot. Go over there. Go on your pillow. Go on your pillow. Go on your pillow. Thank you. Do you understand what I'm saying to you here? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what the social contract is now? And if you go to Canada or you go to Mexico, our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the south, who Donald Dumpster Fire Trump has done everything he can to ruin our relationships with the people in the north and the people in the south. I don't remember the dumpster fire running on the idea that we're taking over Canada. I don't remember that. I remember the Epstein files, the JFK files, the MLK files, and the alien files were all going to come out. I didn't see that happen. I didn't see that happen. Didn't see it happen. I also didn't see him indemnify all police. He said he was going to indemnify all police. I didn't see that happen either. So pretty much the guy's completely and utterly full of shit and wants to dump on our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. Now, I'm not saying the left is any better. Believe me, trust me. I had a conversation with a guy last night about this exact same thing. So here was our choices in America. So people who don't know, we didn't have a choice. On the left, we had this crazy who was anointed as the Democratic nominee, and they would say, hey, you know, what do you think? Is the sky blue? And she would go, well, it could be blue. It's blue sometimes. The sky could be blue today, but it might not be blue. It could be blue tomorrow. I'm not really sure. Don't be unburdened by what has been. And that was her answer. And on the right, you had a guy going, listen, I can lower your grocery prices. I can end these wars. I have all the answers. Only I can do it. And by the way, you know, we don't want men in sports. And 9 out of 10 people agree with that. 9 out of 10 people agree with that. That we don't want men, biological men in women's sports. I'm one of them. And I'm a big trans person supporter. You guys know that. To my detriment, people have said I'm unsubscribing because you believe there's more than 2 genders. No, I don't believe there's more than 2 genders. I believe that there are trans people who thoroughly, completely, and utterly believe that they're the other sex. And other than that, they're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly good people. So you can call that 2 genders, 3, whatever you want. But I believe that there's people who are born with their wires crossed and completely and utterly believe that they're the other sex. I know that because I have some in my family who I love and respect and cherish. I have nothing against them. But he ran on these ideas. And what he's doing specifically is going against our social contract. Our social contract, our rule of law. You cannot, by dictatorship, say, I'm going to abolish the 14th Amendment. What one do we want him to get rid of? Everybody put it in the chat right now. What do we want Trump to get rid of? We want Trump to get rid of income tax, right? Nobody wants income tax. How did we get income tax? When we know for a fact in Article 4 of the Constitution that it says no direct taxes can be levied. In other words, no income tax is possible. It was written by our founding fathers. And then in the 1895 case of Pollock, it says in that case, the Supreme Court struck down an income tax and said, you cannot put an income tax on the American people. So then in 1909, this piece of shit named William Howard Taft, he wrote the 16th Amendment that said we're going to override Article 4 of the Constitution, and we're going to say that there can be an income tax. We're going to amend the Constitution with the way we amend the Constitution. I believe that's Article. I may be having Article 4 and Article 5 switched around, but it doesn't matter. You understand, it's in the Constitution that there's no direct income tax. Then Taft in 1909 writes that we're going to create an income tax. And then in 1913, while Taft is a Republican, when a Democrat, Woodrow Wilson, gets into office, what happens? Woodrow Wilson signs the 16th Amendment, and it's ratified by 2/3 of all of the states of America. And so now the 16th Amendment says that we can have an income tax, and we will be income taxed. And now everybody, put a 1 in the chat right now if you want income taxes to be abolished. 1 for me. I can't do it but 1 for me. Someone put a 1 for me, because I want income taxes to be completely abolished, right? But can Dumpster Fire do that through executive order? Absolutely not. Cannot. He can't abolish the Second Amendment like he's tried to do. He can't abolish the First Amendment like he's trying to do. He can't abolish the 14th Amendment like he's trying to do. And he cannot abolish the 16th Amendment like he is trying to do. Can't do it. I wish he could get rid of the income tax. I really, really do. I really, really do. I wish we could get rid of the income tax by just one person going, this is bullshit, let's get rid of it. Can't be done that way. You have to go through a legislative process. There has to be the will of the people. So there's 3 branches of government, and this is laid out in Article 1 of the Constitution, and the 3 branches of government are the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. Those 3 branches of government were defined in Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution of the United States. And what was the intention of our founding fathers? The intention of the founding fathers was that the legislative branch would be the most powerful branch of government. Maybe you've heard of Chevron deference. We're going to go into that in a minute. But what that means is that the founding fathers wanted the legislative branch to be the most powerful branch of government. That's why with the judicial branch, the 3rd branch of government, they didn't really pencil in a lot of things. It was kind of vague. You know, they knew we needed judges, but they didn't really put the fine print into the judges. That's how you get the 1803 case of Marbury versus Madison, and I believe it's the 1812 case of Johnson versus McIntosh, which is going to uphold the 1803 case of Marbury versus Madison. Now, you do not get a choice. You are born into this rule of law. If you come here from Mexico or from Canada, you are now a part of the jurisdiction of these United States, and therefore the social contract is applied to you, whether you like it or not. And I hear it all the time. People say, man, I'll tell you, Chille, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for a social contract. I was talking to a friend earlier on the phone, and he said, oh, so then you mean to tell me might is right, that they will enforce this social contract on you with the iron fist of the government if you don't do what it says for you to do. Yep. If you don't believe me, go to England. Go to England and say all immigrants are terrorists. Go to England and say that. They will arrest you and put you in a dungeon. And you're going to say, but I wasn't born in England. I didn't sign up for this social contract in England. They don't give up if you did or not. They don't care. You're in their jurisdiction. You're living under the laws of that particular country, state, county. Now, let's try to understand it in a deeper sense, so that you can truly understand. So, what has happened in the United States of America? What has happened is that the rule of law has been bastardized, and we don't live under a rule of law anymore. We live on a tyrannical, jackboot, thug pig, police state, prison state, death state system. And what that means, a carceral state, specifically coined by Sonia Sotomayor in the 2016 case of Utah versus Streif. And she called America a carceral state, a despotic state. And so when you break that down into more understanding, there are a few different forms of government, okay? So you're gonna have an aristocratic government, which is ran by the super rich and the elites. You're gonna have a Republican government, which is what America is supposed to be. We're supposed to be an American government. You're gonna have a monarchical, a government based on despotism, that the rule of law can be applied to you in a cruel and inhumane way because you didn't follow the rule of law. Now, we're supposed to live in a Republican representation system of governance. Do we live under that? So the person you vote for is your Republican representative, not a Democrat or a Republican, but a Republican form of representation, meaning that you take a group of people, they elect somebody to be their representative or their Republican. We're voting for people, and then they're doing the will of the people, right? No. We've become a carceral state. We have become a state that is an aristocratic state, a despotic state, and what Trump is trying to do is make us a monarchical state. And we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. No matter if you agree with what Trump is saying, and I do agree, I don't want to pay income tax at all whatsoever. Forgive me, I can't see the comments. Forgive me, I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. I could put them on. Let me see. And I'll take questions now. If you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Because as you know, because I haven't been going live, I haven't been auditing police, all I've been doing is studying. I've been studying since November, nonstop, every day, 10 hours a day, studying, reading, researching, learning, so that I can then transmit this information to you in a coherent, understanding, digestible way. So I'll take any questions. Stomper, what's going on, Playboy? I'll take any questions that you guys have. If anybody has any questions, I would love to hear them. Go ahead. I am ready for your questions. Joseph Barbini is in the room. What is going on? Gloria, what's going on? Do me a favor, can you guys put Team DLZ in the chat? Team DLZ. Oh, by the way, okay, so I don't see any, okay, let me see. I got a question. Finally, there's a question. In what way can we overturn Terry versus Ohio using the current permitting scheme denials with Bruin? So there's a guy named David Vallejos. I think he goes by Daywad on here. He may have changed his name to something else, but he's currently suing here in California for his permit being denied. So the way we can overturn Terry versus Ohio, this is exactly why I've changed what I'm doing, because we're doing Constitution headquarters. Please go to my website, Delete Lawz or Constitution HQ, and pre-order my board game. Everything I'm saying now is in this board game, fantastic detail. So the way you can overturn, you can do it. You can pull the bill down that I've written for your state using ChatGPT and Grok and artificial intelligence, and you can overturn Terry versus Ohio in a state-by-state method. And so what do I mean when I say you can overturn Terry versus Ohio in a state-by-state method? Well, a very simple bill for Idaho could be that you cannot stop anybody without probable cause. Now, Terry versus Ohio lowered the standard to reasonable or suspicion. But in the state of Ohio, if you got that bill introduced into the House and then went through the House committee and then got up to the Senate of Idaho, and that bill passed, then peace officers in Idaho would not be able to come after you and question you unless there was probable cause, not just reasonable articulable suspicion. So that's on a state-by-state basis. I've already written a couple bills, one for Utah versus Strieff, one for Maryland versus Pringle, 2003, but that's how we can overcome each and every one. And you can do that on a state-by-state basis. Now, I've already written a lot of these bills, but we're going to write, people can help me. People like Brandy Swaney. I'm going to give you the template for Maryland versus Pringle 2016 for the state of California, and I'm going to ask you to use ChatGPT and artificial intelligence to write a similar bill for the state of Ohio, and those will be on my website, Delete Lawz. And Delete Lawz dumps into Constitution HQ. Team DLZ is merging into Delete Lawz. I have a new webmaster. If you haven't been on DeleteLawz.com, it is so fast now. It is so fast. So, and then it's here. Is it possible Trump can do with income tax at all, can do away with income tax at all, or is that a false lie? That's a false lie. Now, what can't, so let me explain to you. I explained to you a little bit of the premise of the 16th Amendment that was written by William Howard Taft in 1909 and then signed into law and ratified by 2/3 of the states in 1913, creating the 16th Amendment. So what Trump can do is he can lower the income tax rate dramatically But I, again, believe that that's going to have to go through Congress. He's not going to be able to abolish income tax when it's a part of the United States Constitution. You just can't do that from the executive position. Remember, the first branch of government is the legislative branch of government, and the reason it is because the founders wanted the legislators, the people, the representative government. Bronson, I see you, buddy. Are we still there? Hopefully. Let me see where I'm at. Let me see where I'm at. I think I'm hitting a pretty big desert right here, if you guys are still with me. Yep, I'm going to lose you guys. If you can see me, I love you. I'll see you on the next one. Later, Gators.